with Jack at 1241 on the Pacific Coast.
And I appreciate it.
And I'm living at the 45 with you.
Yes, sir.
All day long.
Yes, sir, brother. Yes, sir, brother. Except for I really wanted to ask you, I guess I'm a little confused about We Connect because I thought your issue when you got hurt, and I thought it was more like a heart thing or like a, kind of like a diagnosis that was kind of scary. I didn't know it had to do with mental health. And so I was kind of wondering why We Connect. I guess that's really the biggest thing.
Well, We Connect is a healthcare technology company that serves and supports those individuals with mental health issues and substance use disorder or substance misuse. Prior to my cardiac arrest and cardiac event, I co-founded We Connect 7-8 years ago.
Oh, so this was before. Yeah. I see. Okay, I wondered. Okay.
But why We Connect? I'm someone in long-term recovery since 1999. And while playing the 1999 US Open, actually, we can actually bring it back to mental health challenges. I'm in long-term recovery from mental health challenges. In 93, when we won the French, I had my first unknowingly panic attack. Sat in the locker room. We just won the thing. In that moment, Luke and I are the best in the world at what we've done, at what we do. And I started shaking. My outsides may have accomplished this goal, but my insides and my head had a whole nother narrative going on. And that led to, the Jensen brothers, rock and roll tennis. And I was quite overwhelmed during the tour days with all that attention and all that stuff.
So much insanity. Yeah, I remember those days.
It was just, I wasn't ready. I wasn't ready, and I didn't have the tools to navigate that world. And it wasn't until 1999, while playing the US Open, with the birth of my first son, my brain had come up with the conclusion that, jumping out of a window in New York City was a good idea. And instead of a hotel manager in Los Angeles calling an interventionist, calling the police, he called an interventionist. I got a knock on the door, and he asked if he shared his story and asked if I was willing to get help. Mental health issues preceded my substance misuse and self-medication to check out of the here and now, to be anywhere but where I was at. And right now I'm with Jack, and that's enough. And my brain wasn't working right for a while. And it wasn't until I started on a pathway of recovery that I found out that I wasn't alone, and that this was not only a treatable but a preventable condition. So, if I really break it down, my mental health preceded my heart health, and I can't point that my mental health caused a cardiac arrest. That was a struck by lightning moment on October 29th, 2022.
A little bit like Hamlin this week.
It's exactly like him. And
really?
Exactly, to a T. Instead of landing backwards as he did with a football helmet on the turf, I landed backwards. I was hitting my first serve, first point of the service of the set, and the lights went out, and I tumbled back and landed on my head, and I had skull fractures. My heart had stopped, and it stopped for 18 minutes. And within 10 seconds, there were off-duty medical professionals and an ex-fire chief that went to proceeded to give me CPR compression. They broke my ribs, broke my sternum. They shocked me 4 times in 18 minutes on that tennis court. My head had blood dripping out of it, and my brothers talking to me. They asked my brother to talk to me as I'm dead.
I get it.
For 18 minutes. And then the ambulance arrived. They shocked me 2 more times in an ambulance. They eventually got a heartbeat, and they induced me into a coma for 6 days. So when I'm watching the Damar Hamlin story unfold, I actually reached out to Jesse Pagula and a number of others. I've spoken to the NFL Network, to ESPN people, if I can be of help or service to anybody. The Hamlin family, what my wife went through, my sons went through, my brother
Sure,
went
of course,
through.
the whole family.
You mentioned how you wake up in the morning and see life. I will never be the same again. And Damar Hamlin will never be the same again. I have a built-in defibrillator in my body. It's like a small deck of cards underneath my arm, near my armpit, and with a wire that if my heart were to stop again, we're going to have a different conversation than we're having right now. So now but We Connect is a mobile application that has support group meetings 365 days a year. We've served over 500,000 people from 30 countries. There's recovery coaching and recovery capital planning. And, I wouldn't climb Mount Everest alone, and I didn't get sober, and I don't stay sober, and I don't stay mentally right alone. I have a team, that helped me. And the first thing, speaking of mental health, I asked my therapist in this room after the cardiac arrest was why I am still here. Why am I still here? Am I still here? I actually have to pinch myself. Am I still alive? Is this a dream? People ask me, what did you go to the other side? I have a couple of vague memories of being here when I was there. And people seeing myself, and people asking me, are you okay? I'm in my office. Of course I'm okay. They're texting me, is everything okay? I'm okay. That's all I remember. I have no memory of Colorado Springs. I have no memory of that court. I have no memory of even flying to Colorado the day before I'm with my wife and baby. No memory. But I have another memory of being on a tennis court, speaking to the other side, and it was named after Ken Flack, who had died a few years ago, suddenly. And so I don't think he had a cardiac arrest, but the court had been named after him. And so to have two vague, random memories of this, and now watching it live on TV with Damar Hamlin, you don't know. This life we all live is very fragile, and the things that we can control are a lot less than we think.
Yeah, I mean, you're a big, strong guy. I mean, who would have thunk it? You know what I mean? Same with Damar. I mean, the guy's he's an unbelievable athlete. We just love watching him. I mean, and he didn't get hit that hard.
No, a cardiac arrest is an electrical. It's not a plumbing situation, and that hit may have sparked his heart to stop, and have his cardiac arrest. This happens every 90 seconds. There is a reason when you walk through the airport or into a Starbucks, there's an AED there, because it's not just old dudes. It's not just unhealthy people. It can be a 10-year-old competitive girl gymnast. I've gotten calls and letters from people from around the world, and it could be a wife, it could be a son, it could be anybody, and it's electrical short. In my case, it may have been high altitude dehydration, lack of potassium. It could have been a number of things. But who only God knows,
that makes me wonder, how much do you think the other stuff mattered? I talked to Barry for a couple hours. Barry Buss, you're familiar? You must know him.
I know Barry
from UCLA. He had a similar thing, except for the physical ailments. But he was lucky too. I read his book cover to cover.
Yeah.
And, his was more of a, being a kind of a deadhead and a big partier. But shit, I've grown up in tennis, even though you've made it to the top of the mountain, I'm still a journeyman. We all kind of suffer the same things, And there's a stink ton of partying in tennis. I mean, even though it's very hush hush, but everyone from Bjorn Borg all the way through, you know, I heard Labor used to drink beer before, or John Alexander, those guys used to drink a couple beers before they jumped on the court. Do you think that has much to do with anything or not really?
Well, I mean, you know, socially, people drink to, you know, why does anyone put anything in their mouth that changes them from the neck up? They could either be doing that for relief. You lose a tough match, couple of beers. You win a
you win a big match.
You a couple of beers.
Exactly.
So, but alcohol, you know, is a very acceptable thing, you know. But there's a difference between the social drinker and someone that's crossed that line to misuse, to change the way they feel, you know. I so and so, I'm going to have a drink to take the edge off. What is that edge? Stress, you know. I'm nervous before a match, going to have to hit a few. Well, that's not going to help my serve. You know, it's going to help make me weak.
Might make you feel like you're playing well, but you know.
And I cast no judgment on any of it, you know. But you know, what's the motive and what precedes? You know, if I'm drinking to fit in for your acceptance, hey Murphy, let's have a beer. I don't even like the taste of beer, but I don't want you to think that I can't drink beer. Sure, I'll have that beer. Bring it over here, Jack. You know, and I'm seeking your approval and your affection, you know, and how that is, as opposed to, you know, I like to have a beer in the warm sun after a long match. Who the hell doesn't? You know, I can, in my mind's eye, I burn that gym card. I personally have been rewarded with a life I didn't even know was available to me as a result of, I don't need anything outside of me to feel whole and complete. I'm enough, you know?
Yeah.
And I just choose that it doesn't work for me. You know, I'm not triggered. You can have as many drinks in front of me as you want. That's your business.
I get it.
Yeah.
You know, I always thought it was more the rock star syndrome. Seemed like the better players to me. And even when I had a few good wins myself, it seemed like the rock star mentality, meaning you're on stage, it's very exciting, you know. In my case, it was mostly just college tennis and chicks would watch and this and that, right? And you felt like kind of a star out there for the moment or for the win. And I always felt like it was kind of a rock star thing. I always sort of compared the two. And I just thought, well, you know, you got all this excitement, you got to keep it going. Now you're going to go home, you're bored to tears. I was just on stage center court, or I was just on court one, winning number one doubles to win the match 5-4. And now you're home and it's like, and then it was like, you know, is that what it is?
It's loneliness. I mean, you think about the rock stars. I know
like Jim Morrison or something.
I know hundreds that are dead and hundreds that are in long-term recovery. And
really,
you know, yeah, there's fear, you know, and then the feeling of being uncomfortable in one's skin, you know, when they're not on stage. Or what allows them to write that hit record was smoking this or doing that, and they get a gold record, and then they smoke more of this and do more of that, and they get a platinum record, and then now they're just numb, you know, and then just going, and next thing you know, there's a dependence created where I can't go to bed without taking this, and I can't wake up without drinking this, you know. So it's an evolution that, but back to on a simple level, there was you know, the movies we watch. You got Scarface, you've got,
I watched it this weekend.
Jim Morrison, you know, who wouldn't want to go to Burning Man after seeing that? And until you see him in the tub, you know, it's a good idea until it's not. And you know, there's curiosity, but back to that, why if I were to think about the first time I had ever had a drink, it was actually at a national junior tennis tournament. I'm 12 years old and I'm far away from home. And I lost a burner of a match with 6 match points. I never had a drink in my life. And my roommates were from New York, and they hit the mini bar and they said, "Do you want some vodka?" I don't even know what vodka is. They asked me if I want to smoke a joint. I don't even know what a joint is, but I didn't want them to think I wasn't cool.
Huh. Well, you started a lot younger than me, man. I'll tell you that. But so, like I said, most of the great players did. Most of my friends that were, semis of the Orange Bowl or whatever, they were the partiers, were the guys who did the best.
Yeah. Well, they work real hard and have an obsession I was, once again, I worked really hard. I loved being in my brother's air, and I loved being with him, and I knew where he was going. He was the #1 junior in the world, singles and doubles.
Yeah.
And #1 in college tennis at USC, and then turns pro, and he's all that in a bag of chips. And I didn't want to not be with him, so I worked really hard.
Yeah.
Went back to what motivates anybody. I think our opportunity in the world of tennis is to equip these juniors with tools to not only win, but to learn how to lose, and to, treat those, as Kipling would say, those two imposters the same. If you go, the saddest place on the tennis tour is the press conference after the person that lost. You'd have thought, just listening to them, you can see the tone and the light in their eyes is gone, and it's like someone has died. A funeral.
Well, that's right.
It's as sad as a funeral. And then the other sad place is prize money. If you go into prize money, you start yelling at the person writing your check. There's only one person that's going to be satisfied, and that's the dude with the trophy at the end. But you lose a match you should have won, you're going to walk into that prize money with a crappy attitude. What do you mean you're taxing me 35%?
Right.
And that guy's just doing his job, man. And I'm ripping his head up. But anyway, this game of tennis has taught me everything I need to know: how to solve problems, how to get up when I've been knocked down, how to handle wins and losses. But I've learned more from my losses and my setbacks than my success. Period. End stop. And
well, they always say that, right? I mean,
well, they say that the things we go through, we grow through. And I'm playing tennis at 215, and I'll be in a battle with some maniac. And I play the youngsters, the young college players, and they don't know what to do when a person comes to the net. But
right.
I'm diving and digging and running around at 54 years old, and the balls are coming back. I still play really well, but it feels like what I've learned is really how the rackets have affected the game. The power someone used to have isn't that big of a deal, because a lot of people say these rackets produce power, but they absorb it as well.
Of course, so much easier on your body.
I just know that what used to not come back comes back with a message. Like, is that all you got?
I definitely think the rackets have favored the Europeans with the clay courts, because they were always all court players. We were always, what did Nick used to say? You got to have a weapon. We just wanted one or two big weapons.
Smash and crash.
Yeah, rush and crush. That's right.
Yeah, and crash and burn. If you can't play the full court, you're not going to be playing today. And it's a game of attrition, as Federer told me, as opposed to power. Can you outrun? Can you run for 6 hours and hold serve all along the way? And
right.
Look at that Alcaraz Sinner match.
I still have it on the recording. I see it I watched it 4 times already.
Nobody misses. It's unbelievable.
It is.
Nobody makes a mistake, or they can't put the ball away.
Yeah.
I love this thing called life, and it's given me so much. And I love the game because it's given me so much. And my job on this planet is really easy. It's to be available anytime, anywhere someone reaches out for help.
Yeah, it sounds like you've really changed your life goals and your life mission now completely. I mean, completely. Did you ever talk to Naomi after her little breakdown a couple of years ago?
I coached her for the Washington Castles, maybe once or twice. And, where the tour has to realize is that if someone raises their hand and says they've got mental health issues, you should listen, and not levy a fine, and be empathetic and understanding, and maybe find out why someone needed to raise their hand. Because teenage girls, or teenagers, more than 150,000 children committed suicide in 2022. Big number. And that number is growing.
Right, in the United States or worldwide?
In the US.
Oh my God.
And
you think it was because of the lockdowns?
It's a lot of things. I think people, technology can bridge a lot of things, but it really combats human connection. And my mental health issues, I can only really speak from my experience, was a disease of isolation. And I'm only as sick as my secrets. And so if I'm just locked into these phones all day, if I'm seeking your approval and affection by my Instagram account, if you like me or not, I'm going to have issues at the end of the day. And now you get to the top of the mountain, you're making $50 million a year, and you really don't, you're not armed with the tools to live this life. You're a child. You just won the US Open. Serena Williams is on the other side, and you serve 4 aces, and then you get off the court and like, now what? I'm scared. I can play great tennis, but I'm a scared child out here. I don't know whether it's Naomi or anybody. It's called the human condition, and it's got to be okay not to be okay. We need to live like that.
It makes me wonder the same question as before, though. When does it become a problem? I mean, look, we all get scared shitless before the finals, every one of us. And sometimes I couldn't sleep when I was a junior the night before a finals match, or I'd puke a little sometimes before going home. It's happened once or twice when I was boys 16s or 18s, I remember. But when does it become a real, kind of like the drug thing? Okay, so smoke some bud, have a beer. When does it become, when do you cross the line? You know what I mean?
You're 18 years old and you go from zero to hero. You go from no prize money in the challengers and the satellites to $50 million. You're going to have to be responsible and adult and accountable to a lot of responsibility to earn that $50 million. They didn't sign you to those deals to not do photo shoots. Well, if you're incapable of having a voice, or incapable of managing, and now everybody but you is managing your world. All you got to do is go out there and play tennis. But now you just don't have to play tennis. You got to do this and this and this and this, and look right, sound right, talk right, breathe right, sleep right. You lose your marbles. It can get overwhelming. It would be an understatement. And what tools does anybody have to deal with that responsibility?
I never saw it quite as responsibility. I saw it as a pleasure, but I see what you mean by responsibility.
It's a privilege to play this game, no doubt about it. But you haven't been in a situation where you felt overwhelmed or less than or not enough. And even if you were number one and you felt less than and not enough, it's not what's going on, it's what I think is going on. If my head is got one narrative, the whole world says, I love you, Murphy. But my head's saying, Murphy, you're a piece of garbage. You're not enough. You don't measure up. You're a fraud. Imposter syndrome.
I've been through that exact same thing myself. I mean, yeah, especially since I coached some great players. I mean, players, top 20 in the world, much better than myself ever got. Much better than I ever got. So yeah, I think the word fraud came up quite a few times in my life with myself. I'm like, God, do I even deserve to be here? You know, I mean, you're right. I think that is a big issue with tennis, but I thought it was just,
what's the
those of us.
solution? We talk about issues. What's the solution to this stuff? What's the solution to what you just said? And I think it's, for me, it comes down to acceptance. I accept myself whether I'm winning or losing. I love myself unconditionally whether I'm winning or losing. I'm right with the person in the mirror, and no different than anything else in life. The more I practice, the more I give myself a chance to win. I have tools in place that I practice on a daily basis to ensure that I stay out of my way. That this thing called
like what? Like meditation? Like meditation?
I was meditating earlier today, awakened to a great day. Meditation, prayer, journaling. I attend support group meetings. I have basically an army of supporters that, I'm honest. You live in a world. How can you really be honest if there's guilt and shames associated with my thinking and my behavior? I have to have a safe place to reach out for help and know that it's okay, back again to not being okay. Before my head says, jumping off this boat and drowning would be a better idea than, and I'm not alone. Thank God. And I don't share this to be dramatic or in a boastful way, but my phone rings daily. My son's on life support. Can you help me? What should I do? I'm thinking about checking out on this world, or you don't know what to do. And imagine a mom or a dad scared to death, and that's the call I get. And it's only from having gone through it, grown through it, experienced it firsthand, and the people that had gone through it, grown through it, and experienced it firsthand were the only ones that could help me. So if anything, if my experience can produce any hope, great. I never set out to be on any mission or purpose or anything like that. Yeah. I'm just doing Monday with Jack at 12:41 on the Pacific Coast.
And I appreciate it.
And I'm living at the 45 with you.
Yes, sir.
All day long.
Yes, sir, brother. Yes, sir, brother. Hey, listen, let me see what I can do. I've got a pretty good group of folks that frequent my page now after a lot of hard work in a year. And I'm going to continue having great podcasts. And we have a new live show starting next week. I'll have to have you tune in. It's a comedy, believe it or not, because I think tennis. I think the one thing tennis is missing is comedy. I mean, and you and I know it ain't nothing but insanity out there. College tennis is insane. Yeah. I didn't play Davis Cup, but I've watched it. It's ridiculous. The shouting and the throwing things and then of course tennis parents. And, so I just thought, how come, so mine's basically, I'm going to be like the Gutfeld of tennis, because I just thought I was watching it one night. And I told my wife who doesn't play tennis, I said, babe, why is tennis boring? She goes, she says, if you don't play it, she says, I've always thought it was boring. She said, everyone thinks it's boring, except for those few of you that play it. And you guys are tennis nuts. Yeah. And I said, well, I can tell you one thing, there's no humor in tennis. So I decided to start doing this show called The Real Spin. And that'll be next week. Hopefully you'll be a guest on it one day. We're going to cover all the current events, but I'd be happy to, I've got sports, John Eagleton, and just a few people. I think I have 5 partners, but I'd be happy to put your link on our partner page, because now that I think about it, I have had 2 kids in my 40 years of coaching call me at between 1 and 3 in the morning, telling me they're thinking of offing themselves. I mean, these are 13. One was 13, one was 15. Yeah. And one wasn't a good player, and the other was, I don't want to say who, but he won, he won lots of gold balls. He's a good player. And so I know it does happen. I just kind of pushed it down. I kind of forgot about those times.
Help is available. Like I said, it's treatable, preventable. WeConnect is a lifeline. It's a first line of defense against these and help. There's a mobile app with support group meetings for family, loved ones. We have peer recovery support coaches that You can self-pay, check your insurance to see if that's covered, or your employer. We're serving employers now. A lot of companies are making this a health and wellness benefit. I would like to make this available to all the teaching pro and all the tennis instructors across the country. I think there's 11, 12,000 of them at the USPTA. That there's an anonymous, confidential way that they can get help. And my website can get you there too, murphyjensen.com.
Okay. I'll make sure in the writing of this, of the presentation of this podcast, it's all in there.
Jack, you're a winner, man. I'll come see you, man. Come to Denver.
I hope you come to Denver. Where are you?
I play tennis at Cherry Hills.
Oh, Cherry Hills. Sure. I know it well.
Yeah, good spot.
It's a beautiful area. Where are you living now? Still California?
Seattle.
Oh, Seattle now.
Yeah, 8 years in Seattle.
Is that because after you got married, was she from that area? Or?
Yeah, I started my company here. My co-founder did stuff with Microsoft and came from the tech space, and a lot of engineers and developers and data scientists here, and it's a good spot to start a tech company.
And starting an LLC is a lot less expensive than California. I can tell you that.
That's what they say.
It's crazy, man. It's crazy.
Well, lots of love to you, Jack.
Hey, thanks a lot, man. Thanks for your time, and I really appreciate it.
Of course. Call me. You got my cell, right?
I got it.
Text me, call me anytime, okay?
I will, and I'll make sure to get you up on the site, and I'll put this all over the place, social media.
Let me know where to see it. I'd love to see it, and
I'll tag you.
I can have WeConnect posted, and I can post it on my stuff. It's all good.
Are you on Facebook and all that stuff? I'm only with you on LinkedIn.
But for some reason, they shut down my account. So,
are you a Republican?
I mean, I am not political, but I can see why you would ask that. And I am a be kindin.
Gotcha.
I live from the world of being kind, and I think something must have gotten jacked up. I don't know. And I have a friend that works at Facebook, and he said he'll fix it. But
cool.
I'm on Instagram and stuff like that.
I'll make sure to tag you all over the place.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
All right, brother.
Day.
Yeah, you have a fantastic week.
Yeah, you too, Jack.